Everyone talks about freedom now. Personal freedom, financial freedom, freedom of choice. That's not really what we have. Or at least, not in the way it's usually sold. Because when you look closely at modern life, something doesn't add up. We have more options than any generation in history. More entertainment, more information, more ways to connect. And yet people report feeling more trapped than ever. More anxious, more purposeless, more like they're just going through motions. Before we talk about solutions,
ადამიანი იღებს მსხვერპლს და ამ მსხვერპლს ის ანახებს ღმერთს, რომ აი უფალო მე მიჭირს, თუმცა ამის მიუხედავად მე ამას ვაკეთებ ჩემი სულისთვის, ჩემი თავისთვის და არა შენთვის. მაშინ ღმერთი ადამიანს ეხმარება და ბევრ ადამიანს დღევანდელ დროში უჭირს ცხოვრება და უჭირს გამკლავება იმ სასტურებზე, რაც ხშირ შემთხვევაში ხდება ჩვენ ცხოვრებაში და გარდაუვალი ეს გლობალიზაციის ერთ-ერთი გარდაუვალი საკითხია. თუმცა მონასტერი პირველ რიგში ადამიანს ანახებს თავის დაცემულ მდგომარეობას. ადამიანს ანახებს ცოდვას და ანახებს იმ შედეგებს, რაც შეიძლება რომ ამ ცოდვამ მოიტანოს. ანახებს რით ზიანდება ის ამ ყველაფრიდან გამომდინარე. ანახებს საიდან მოდის ეს ყველაფერი, ვისგან მოდის და რა შეიძლება ამან მოიტანოს საბოლოო ჯამში. ანუ როცა ადამიანს ამას ანახებ და ადამიანს თავის მდგომარეობას აჩვენებ, ის ამ ყველაფერს აანალიზებს იქიდან გამომდინარე, რომ თითოეულში არის ჩადებული სინდისის ხმა. და სინდისის ხმა ყველას კარნახობს, რა სწორია ჩვენთვის და რა არა.
before we talk about meaning or purpose or any of that, there's just this fact. Most people wake up already defeated. No dramatic crisis, no single trauma, just the weight of existing in a system that asks everything and offers nothing you actually want. And that detail matters more than people realize. This is the age of globalization, not just economically, psychologically. Things were different once. Your world was smaller. Your temptations were limited by geography, by access, by time. People forget that desire used to have friction. You wanted something? You had to plan for it, save for it, travel for it, wait for it. Now it's frictionless. Every product delivered overnight. Every distraction one click away. Every comparison updating in real time. Every escape preloaded and algorithmically optimized. It wasn't dramatic yet. It was just convenient. Then the internet connected everything. Every market, every ideology, every subculture. Not loudly, but permanently. From here, the old ways of coping stop working. Imagine trying to resist something when the entire global economy is designed to eliminate resistance. When every platform is built by teams of engineers who studied behavioral psychology specifically to bypass your willpower. When every app learns from your weakness and adapts in real time. That's the part people skip. On the outside, it looks like abundance, like freedom, infinite choices, endless possibilities, but underneath it's exhaustion, paralysis, the feeling that you're always choosing wrong, always missing something, always falling behind some invisible standard. This is where just be disciplined becomes a joke, because the problem isn't your lack of willpower. It's that you're fighting a global infrastructure designed to commodify your attention. And most self-help advice ignores this part. It acts like you're still living in a world with friction, where temptation is occasional, where you can just focus and commit and everything works out. Don't ignore it. That world doesn't exist anymore. What we're experiencing now didn't feel like a trap at first. It felt like progress, like convenience, like finally getting what we always wanted. Instant communication, unlimited entertainment, the entire world's knowledge in your pocket. But nobody warned us about the cost. Not the monetary cost, the psychological cost. The cost of having every desire immediately available. The cost of never being bored. The cost of constant comparison, the cost of optimization, the cost of trying to keep up with an infinite feed that refreshes faster than you can process it. The monks saw this coming, not the technology, but the condition. They called it the world. They didn't mean the physical earth. They meant the system of passions and desires that keeps you distracted from what actually matters. The craving for possessions, the lust for status, the need for validation, the fear of missing out, the constant itch for novelty. When we wish to call them passions by a common name, we call them the world. And they left, not because they hated life, because they understood something fundamental. You can't fight the world from inside the world. You can't resist the system while depending on it for meaning. So they went to the desert, to caves, to isolated monasteries, to places where the world couldn't follow. Not to escape reality, to find it. Because what we call reality now isn't real. It's performance. It's maintenance. It's scrolling and consuming and reacting and never actually touching anything solid. The real fight isn't against your personal weakness. It's against a civilization-scale apparatus built to ensure you never sit still long enough to ask what you actually want. This isn't really about technology. It's about what happens when human desire meets industrial-scale manipulation. When the things you crave are designed by people who study how to make them irresistible. People aren't weaker now. They're not less disciplined. They're just exposed to more refined traps, more sophisticated mechanisms, more elegant ways to keep you addicted while telling you you're free. And globalization isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. More platforms, more content, more metrics to fail at, more ways to never be enough. Not as progress, more like inevitability. The late Roman Empire had this same quality. Systems too vast to control, too complex to reform, too interconnected to escape, just grinding forward on its own momentum. And the individuals living inside it, they just tried to survive. They tried to maintain, to keep up appearances, to play the game even though the game had stopped making sense. That's where we are now, in the infrastructure, going through the motions, wondering why nothing feels meaningful anymore. Most people feel it but can't name it. That weight, that heaviness, like you're carrying something you can't put down but don't remember picking up. So what's the answer? Most people want to hear, find balance, practice self-care, set boundaries with technology, be more intentional. And sure, those things help at the margins, but they're not the answer, because they're still negotiating with the world, still trying to make peace with the system, still assuming you can optimize your way to freedom. You can't. The real answer is older, harder, less comfortable. It starts with sacrifice, not the kind of sacrifice where you give up something small to get something bigger later, the kind where you give up something real knowing you might not get anything back, the kind the world doesn't understand anymore because it can't be monetized. Before any transformation happens, before any divine intervention, before any breakthrough or relief or change, there's just you, making a choice that costs something. No witnesses, no guarantee it matters, no promise of reward, just the decision itself. And that's where most people stop. Because modern life has conditioned us to expect instant returns. You put in effort, you get results. You invest time, you see progress. You make sacrifices, you get rewarded. But that's not how this works. The sacrifice isn't transactional, it's transformational. And transformation doesn't happen on your timeline. Imagine knowing something will hurt, knowing God might not respond the way you want, knowing you might do everything right and still not get what you're hoping for, and doing it anyway. That's the part people skip. On the outside, sacrifice looks noble, looks spiritual, looks like you've got it figured out. But underneath, it's just doubt, friction, uncertainty, the body saying no, the mind demanding reasons, and something deeper saying yes anyway. This is where most people quit, because God doesn't intervene during the hard part. He waits. And most religious narratives soften this part. They skip straight to the breakthrough, to the answered prayer, to the miracle. Don't soften it. The real story happens in the gap, in the time between choosing sacrifice and seeing any result from it. That gap can last days, or months, or years. And in that gap, it doesn't feel like faith. It feels like you're getting it wrong. Like maybe you misunderstood the whole arrangement. Like maybe God isn't listening, or doesn't care, or doesn't exist. The Desert Fathers knew this intimately. They'd go years without feeling anything. Just sand, heat, silence, loneliness so profound it felt like madness. And they kept going. Not because they were superhuman, not because they had special revelation, because they understood something most people don't. The sacrifice isn't for God, it's for you. God doesn't need your suffering. He's not keeping score. He's not testing you to see if you're worthy. But your soul needs to know it can choose something beyond itself, beyond comfort, beyond the immediate, beyond what makes sense. That's the surgery. That's what breaks the world's hold on you. Not because you escape the world physically, but because you prove to yourself that you're capable of choosing something the world doesn't value. For my soul, for myself, not for you. That line changes everything, because it means the sacrifice stops being performance, stops being a bargaining chip, stops being something you do to get something else. It becomes pure. You're not trying to impress God. You're not trying to earn favor. You're not even trying to become holy. You're just doing the thing that your soul knows it needs to do to be free. And that's when God responds. Not as a reward, more like recognition, like the universe itself acknowledging, oh, you're serious. Much later, sometimes years later, you look back and realize the moment that mattered wasn't when things got better. It was when you chose the hard thing knowing it might not lead anywhere. That's the last true rebellion. Not against authority, not against society, not against injustice or corruption or the system. Against the world itself, against the entire structure of desires that keeps you trapped in maintenance mode, against the passions that seem like life but are actually just elaborate distractions from the question you're afraid to ask. What am I actually doing here? Death to the world doesn't mean hating life. It means refusing to let the world define what life means. It means recognizing that everything the world offers, status, comfort, pleasure, security, approval, all of it is temporary. All of it is hollow. All of it ends in the same place. And once you see that clearly, really see it, you can't unsee it. The world loses its power over you. Not because you become enlightened, but because you stop negotiating. You stop trying to optimize your prison cell. You start looking for the exit. And the exit isn't a place. It's a decision. The decision to sacrifice something real for something you can't see yet. To give up certainty for possibility. To trade comfort for truth. That's what the monks did. That's what every mystic, every saint, every true seeker has done. They reached the point where staying in the world, even successfully, even comfortably, felt like dying slowly. So they chose the other death, the death to the world. And on the other side of that death is something the world can't touch, not because it's hidden, because the world isn't looking for it. The world is too busy optimizing, too busy consuming, too busy maintaining the illusion that more of the same will eventually feel different. But you know better now. You know that life under globalization, under the weight of infinite choice and constant stimulation, isn't sustainable. You know that discipline alone won't save you, that willpower is finite, that you can't win a fight against systems designed by thousands of people whose job is to break you. And you know that the answer isn't comfort, isn't ease, isn't finding the right balance or the perfect routine. The answer is sacrifice, real sacrifice, the kind that costs something, the kind the world calls extreme. And maybe it is extreme, but so is spending your entire life maintaining a version of yourself that was designed by algorithms. So is scrolling until you're numb. So is working jobs you hate to buy things you don't need. So is measuring your worth by metrics that reset every day. That's extreme. We just call it normal. So when people say the world is too much now, when they say they can't keep up, when they say they feel like they're drowning, I think about that phrase. For my soul, for myself, not for you. Because that's usually where the real story starts. Not at the miracle, not at the breakthrough, not at the moment when everything gets easier, but at the moment when you stop performing, when you stop negotiating, when you choose the difficult thing knowing full well it might not work, and you do it anyway, because your soul needs to know it's still capable of choosing something real. That's the last choice you have left. everything else has been optimized, monetized, turned into content, but this is still yours.